This is Breakfast Daily. Time now to look at some pressing issues in our country. You know that over some few days, there are a lot of things happening from Madam Cecilia Dapa to James Gyakye Quayson to Adizado College, a whole lot, you know. So we are going to also be looking at some of these issues and what really the insights are and what my panelists would make of all this. Now, there's a story, you know, that the NDC is crying out because they do not agree with whatever is happening, and this is with regard to the James Gyakye Quayson and the fact that the Domahene has also stepped in to make a statement that the state and the judiciary should just discontinue the case. Now, as a result, the Judicial Council has invited the Domahene, but the NDC and minority believe that this is not a call that he should pay heed to. And so I'll take the story from the Citi newsroom, and this is a story by Letitia Osei. It says, NDC accuses Akufo-Addo of victimizing Domahene. Now, the National Democratic Congress, NDC, has accused President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and the Vice President, Dr. Mamudu Bawumia, of victimizing Domahene Osajefo Osiadeyo Ajman Bedu II, following his comment on the MP for Asin North, James Gyakye Quayson. The party claimed Osajefo Osiadeyo Ajman Bedu II is being persecuted by the Judicial Council over the public statement he recently made. Domahene weeks ago called on the President and the Attorney General to file a nolle prosequi to discontinue the court case involving Mr. Gyakye Quayson. The NDC has been reliably informed that the paramount chief of the Doma traditional area, His Majesty Royal Majesty Osajefo Osiadeyo Ajman Bedu II, is being persecuted by the Judicial Council over some public statements he made recently in his role as a traditional ruler. Now, it further goes on to say that the NDC hereby calls on the Judicial Council to reconsider its apparent persecution of the Domahene. We wish to caution that should the Judicial Council proceed to harass and victimize the Domahene, the NDC will collaborate with other progressive forces and defenders of democracy to embark on a series of public manifestations to protest this creeping culture of judicial tyranny. Now, this was the message from the NDC. Now, I have here with me Loratu Musa Saka. She's a member of the National Communications Team, NPP. We're also expecting our second guest to join us, and we'll introduce her when she joins us. But for now, we'll just go straight to Loratu. Yes. Welcome, Loratu.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
I mean, you're always looking so stunning.
I'm learning from you.
Oh, see you. They say there's no money in the system, but you look so fresh.
There's life.
We thank God for that.
Once we are alive, there's hope.
Absolutely. Now, let's look at this James Gyakye Quayson and now the Domahene's call on the judiciary and also to the government, and what the NDC is saying now, that if the Domahene, according to them, he has been persecuted, and they are accusing the President and the Vice President of doing so through the Judicial Council. I don't know what to make of this.
Good morning, Freema. Once again, good morning to our viewers. I mean, when it comes to the NDC, sometimes it's just interesting how they address some of these issues. It's like anytime they feel like something is not going their way, our institutions are not doing anything right. If it goes their way, our institutions are like the best in the world. And I think they need to be consistent. Look, we need to be very honest and practical when it comes to issues of state and state institutions, because those are the things that make us a nation. Our laws, our rules, our conduct, and our institutions are what make us a nation and what makes us feel safe to be in this country. Honorable Gyakye Quayson, nurtured, you see, and that's what sometimes baffles me. It's not like the man just got up in 2020 and decided that I'm going to contest 2020 elections. He had nurtured that ambition since 2012.
Yeah.
So a man at his level, with his experience, especially living outside the shores of this country, where laws are seen to work and work well, you want to be a lawmaker. You nurture such ambitions. You know that by Article 94, you can't hold allegiance to two countries. You were a citizen of Canada, no doubt about it. There are a lot of people who do that. There are a lot of people who hold dual citizenship. There's nothing wrong about it. But loyalty and allegiance to a state, because you want to come and sit in our parliament and make laws, laws you can't abide by. You've nurtured this since 2012. You never renounce your citizenship until 2020. I mean, look at the time from 2012 to 2020. If he really wanted to. And these are the same people when we say COVID caused us a lot of challenges. They don't want to hear that. But they are comfortable enough to say he didn't get a certificate because of COVID. That aside, we've seen what the NDC has done to our state institutions. Easy. We heard what they said in the just gone Kumewu elections. But when they won Ase North, EC was perfect. We've heard what they said about the police. Their current chairman even had cause to issue some very strong words to the police.
But Loretta, is this not what both parties do? I mean, it looks like when it works for you, I mean, any of you, NPP, NDC, when it works for you, the state institutions are the best. When it doesn't work for you, then we vilify them.
There's a difference between sharing your opinion, criticizing a system, and vilifying a system. Have you ever heard the NPP burning car ties in front of the EC office? Have you ever heard the NPP insulting judges, threatening to rape judges? Have you ever heard the NPP do that? Let's draw the line.
Yeah, but I mean,
the revered chief, Domahene. I mean, anybody who is well brought up would think twice before saying anything negative about any chief or any queen mother or any elder in this country. By the way we are brought up and by even out, apart from the rules and conducts, by our traditional setup, you think twice before you use certain words against the chief. He's a judge.
Yeah.
He works in an institution. He's made comments that the institution thinks. Because if you are the one that we run to when we need justice, if you stand in public and say that the person is going through the process and you say it should be withdrawn, it should be stopped, I mean, obviously, he needs to be given a fair hearing to understand why he made those statements.
Could it not like, just be a passing statement, you know, just, I mean, a lot of people have made this call that can we just stop, you know, I mean, look at the whole issue again. People have actually said that maybe that law has even outlived its usefulness, this dual citizenship and the fact that allegiance issues, loyalty issues. So really, is this something that we have to move the traditional ruler?
Did Domahene make his statements in relation to, did he identify with any political party that he, when he made that statement?
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
Yeah.
He's Domahene
yes.
in one aspect of his life, and he's a high court judge in another aspect of his life. I'm sure when his chiefs and people go contrary to what their traditions are, he holds them before him to understand why they did that. And if there's any punishment, it's meted out to them. Just as he does in the court of law. He sits, he listens to what the defendants and the plaintiffs say and make a judgment. Isn't it better for him to have left it to his colleagues who were overseeing the Gyakye Quayson case? I think these are some of the questions we should be asking. But what has happened? The Judicial Council has heard a lot of comments. Just as people have made that call, other people have called him out. Because if I sitting here as a lay person when it comes to legal issues, I'm not a lawyer, I make such a comment, I can be pardoned. But this is a high court judge who works within the judicial settings, knows their code of conduct, knows how things are done there and what has been done. It's not like Domahene has been relieved of his position, Domahene has been asked to step aside of a case or anything. A committee has been set to listen to him and understand what. Nothing has come out. And the NDC is already crying foul. Are they trying to justify the claims by some people that the Revere Chief is one of them? Let's be measured in some of them. Let's allow our institutions to work. I don't think that any well-meaning Ghanaian will see a man of his stature being persecuted and sit down without saying anything. If the NDC thinks there's something untoward, apart from the committee that has been set up to give him a hearing, there's something wrong going on, they should state it. But to just say
but does it really
he's being
warrant,
victimized,
does this statement really warrant setting up a committee and come? Is it because he's a high court judge? Is it because he's a chief? Really?
Freema, let me use your media house as an example. You have your code of conduct in here. Most of your resources are supposed to come from adverts. Then you have a friend who is running a business, think he's doing something. You don't take permission from any of your superiors. Then on air, because you have the opportunity, you mention it and give even if you give a second, won't your superiors call you to answer?
It depends.
It depends on what.
So, for instance, Loretta has a shop. I come and buy something from. Oh, thank you very much for that beautiful dress, Loretta.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes you gloss over certain things.
I gave you. I have a shop. I gave you a dress. Right.
Yeah.
You say thank you for the dress.
Yeah.
But when you go further to mention the name of the shop, give the details of the shop, give the location of the shop.
You need LPN.
Thank you.
You pay for it. But
so
you didn't do LPN.
If
you just
a
made just a simple
case
statement
in court and a statement has been made by a judge who understands what happens in the judiciary, who is not sitting on the case, right? He's not sitting on the case. Will it be fair to him if he's sitting on the case and a fellow judge makes this? See, let's look. It's not the person who made the statement. And I've told you, if I go and make such an appeal, it may probably be taken with a pinch of salt because it's coming. Thank you. Why did you report it? Because Domahene is what? A high court judge. He works within the judicial service.
Right.
They have their rules and regulations.
Right. So we have our second guest joining us, Betty Crosby Mensah. She's MP at Front Plains North Constituency. Honorable, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Right. So we just talking about Honorable James Gyakye Quayson's issue and the fact that the Domahene has spoken that the state should file nolle prosequi and that the NDC says that they do not agree to whatever the Judicial Council is saying, that the Domahene needs some explanations to do because they think that, well, he's been persecuted. And so why must this go on? And so they are blaming the president and the vice president. How do you receive this, and what's the problem if Domahene has to say something?
Good morning, my beautiful ladies.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you very much for the platform and the opportunity to also add my voice. And then I want to use this opportunity to say a very big thank you and congratulations to the NDC for coming up with such an important statement. I call it important statement because I felt that on this very occasion, whilst I was expecting other civil society organizations, well-meaning Ghanaians, to also come out and add their voice, if we feel that the basic right, the basic constitutional right of every Ghanaian is being frowned on, then of course we have every reason to speak against it. First and foremost, apart from the fact that our dear Osi Adeyo happens to be a high court judge, let's not forget that he is a citizen of Ghana. And he also has his basic rights. That is where we talk of freedom of expression and freedom of speech. And so it also goes to add to the point that he is a traditional ruler. And so as a traditional ruler, we've had a lot of traditional rulers over the years who come out to speak on issues that they feel that they have the potential of destabilizing the country. Of course, we are talking about Gyakye Quayson, who is the good people of Asinov's representative in Parliament. And against all odds, people, in fact, eventually government decided to declare, or Parliament decided to declare his seats vacant, and then we had to go for a rerun. And against all odds, against the campaign messages, against everything that our belief stands against, the people of Asinov decided that this is our man. And they gave him an overwhelming endorsement, which is over 57% of their vote. And so I felt that that must have brought the whole case and the misunderstanding to an end. And so if a traditional ruler in the person of Osei Adeoyo Nana Agyemangbedu feels that by the Attorney General's statement and actions will kind of throw some, misunderstanding within our court systems and everything. And so he felt that he was actually appealing to the Attorney General and the president to take a look at it. I think there was really absolutely nothing wrong.
Was that an appeal?
Yes, it was an appeal, if you read the statement. And again, he wasn't, like you rightly said, he wasn't in a seat as a high court judge. He was invited in his capacity as a traditional ruler. And I felt that it was within his right to come out and say, look, I'm appealing to the Attorney General vis-a-vis the president that at this point, let's just bring all this thing to an end. Of course, the people of Asinov, it's long overdue. They haven't had a representation in Parliament in fact, almost 2 years gone. And it has been back and forth. People have to, in fact, their needs had to be brought to Parliament. Development issues are being, kept behind. And so this is the time that we feel that, oh, look, instead of this gentleman going back and forth to our court, almost every day, if you've been observing and following what is happening, then the time has come for the president to say, look, enough is enough. Let's allow Gyakye Quayson to represent his people. And so I felt that there was nothing absolutely wrong with the statement. And vis-a-vis the NDC, through the NDC General Secretary coming out to say that, look, what they feel is happening is persecution of our most royal Osajifo, and they feel that they were going to put all necessary resources, they were going to rally people's support if the need be, if this is what the legal counsel seeks
What
to
is
do.
wrong if a man of his caliber, I mean, Osei Adeoyo is not just anybody.
Absolutely.
He understands the tenets of judiciary issues. Now, when he says something, if you come in and you complain, with no disrespect to any of our guests who come here, if, for instance, you come in and say that, oh, when I got outside, the security man was rude to me, I think that depending on who you are, okay, we will rush to you, first and foremost, apologize, and then probably set an inquiry into what happened because of the kind of person you are. We can all talk. I mean, I think that we all sit on TV, on radio, and talk about James Gyakye Quayson, about the laws, what is it with loyalty, with dual citizenship. I don't think that whatever I've said has been recorded by the media because probably I don't have the weight that Osei Adeoyo has. Now, also knowing that he is a high court judge, if he makes such a statement and the Judicial Council invites him, that, well, maybe there are certain things that we can get further clarification, further understanding. Let's talk. What is the problem with that? Why is the NDC opposed to this?
Well, I seriously believe that it is the trends and patterns. I call it trends and patterns because, of course, first and foremost, Osei Adeoyo is not an ordinary citizen. Of course, he is a high court judge, and we believe that when it comes to the legal framework, he really knows what the game is and how to play accordingly. So I'm very certain in my mind that he knew there was no wrong being done with the statement he put out there. But then before we continue, those of us who actually followed what happened in Asinov, you remember in fact, most first gentleman of this country, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, going out there and proclaiming, I mean, I'll use the word contemptuously, stating that if the people of Asinov goes ahead to vote for Gyakye Quayson, then he was going to roll in jail.
But the people did not pay any heed to
it
this.
It doesn't matter.
They still went ahead to vote.
But you know, we already knew that the case was in court. And so for the president to have come out to make that pronouncement, did we hear the legal counsel forming a committee to investigate the president's statement?
Has the NDC,
or is the president of Ghana above the laws of the country?
Nobody's above the law.
And so, that is why I'm thinking, or what I'm saying is that it's about the trends and patterns. And so one person is allowed to say or make contemptuous statement and get away with it. Currently, the case is still in court. And so I feel that we cannot even go too much into details about the pros and cons. However, the president made a pronouncement. The Honorable K.T. Hammond also made a statement.
So let me ask you this. Are you trying to say, or is the NDC trying to say that the president will influence the judiciary? They don't have any trust in the judiciary. Is that your stance?
That is not what the stand is. But what we want to say is that what is good for the goose is definitely good for the gander. So if the court feels there was nothing wrong with the statement made by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, then what happens? What is wrong with...
The president probably was speaking on precedents that has happened
And what is
before.
the precedent? The case is already in court. Okay, so why wouldn't we allow the good judges to make their pronouncements? Come out with the conclusion of their finding and decide whether what is happening, it's likely for Gyakye to go to jail or to be in parliament. At the end of the day, we have called their names. We have said everything that we need to say. The people of Asinov said, look, I relate it with the biblical story where Jesus Christ, was given the opportunity for the people to either choose the armed robber or Jesus Christ. And the people chose who? The armed robber. And so, I'm not saying Gyakye Quayson, but the people had the right to make a decision. And the people said, look, this is our man. And so, allow him to represent us. We believe that he has the interests of Asinov people at heart. And so, we should allow him. And I'm saying that, look, if... our Osi Adeoyo, actually he didn't sit in his chair as a high court judge, but in his capacity as a traditional ruler. And he says that, look, I'm appealing.
But same way, what really business does the traditional ruler have with a case that is in court, a political issue that is in court? Why couldn't he also, as a high court judge who knows how these things work, also leave the whole conversation to the courts to decide?
Haven't we over the years believed in our traditional leaders? The ability to bring some level of peace and sanity into our political discourse.
Super.
Don't we have that confidence in them? And so if this, our revered chief feels that this, whatever is happening with Gyakye Quayson and everything, has the potential of sparking something that will, at the end of the day, will not be in the best interest of the people of Ghana. And so he's making an appeal. What is wrong with that?
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Does that also mean that the NDC is expecting that now the Osi Adeoyo has said that, okay, this continues, so court, stop work? Is that what you're looking for?
We are not expecting that. The statement...
So right now, my difficulty is that the traditional ruler has made a statement, okay? I mean, he, in his capacity, he's not something, somebody who should just make a statement and we all turn a blind ear to it, or a blind eye or a deaf ear to it. And that is why now the council says that, okay, this is what you have said. Come, let's talk about it. Or the NDC knows something that all of us don't know. Do you know what the Judicial Council is going to be discussing with Osi Adeoyo?
I tell you what, until the NDC came out of this statement, did you know what was happening with the legal council? Did you know about it?
About the Judicial Council?
Yeah, Judicial Council. Did you know about it?
As in their existence?
Yeah, no, not about their, about they inviting Osi Adeoyo for further investigation. Were you aware?
No, because sometimes
and so it is very important.
No, but my issue, what I want to understand is the NDC says Osi Adeoyo is being persecuted. And that is a very strong word.
Of course.
If you say somebody is being persecuted, you must have hard evidence to say that this is persecution. That's what I'm asking. Maybe the NDC knows something that we all don't know. Is that the case? Otherwise, if he is being invited, what is the big deal?
Yes, and like I said, before the NDC came out with the statement, I didn't know that the Osiadio had been invited.
But it is not our business.
And so it's goes to clearly indicate that NDC have more information than you and I have access to.
Tell us. That's what we want to know. Tell us.
So that is
what we don't know, tell us.
Definitely there is some act of persecution out there. And so they are calling the Judicial Council, they are calling on the president that, look, we are watching, we are monitoring, we are seeing you. And so anything that we feel that you are going outside what is going to really protect our laws and our judicial service, our judicial systems, we are watching you.
Honorable, you know that when it comes to legal issues, you can't bring your feelings here. What you feel and what you think and what all that, I mean, these are legal matters. I mean, Osiadio is a high court judge. He understands these things better. He's invited. I don't think that Citi invited you today. Okay, I mean, I saw you on TV, I think last week, making some pronouncements, okay, and I was like, oh, wow, you know, and then we invite you. One, you probably do not even know the questions we are going to ask you. Then your bodyguard comes out and say that the Citi people want to persecute Honorable. They say, no, you get it. My point is, would the NDC consider even waiting for Osiadio to have his meeting with the Judicial Council, and then whatever fallout we can now speak to it? Would that not be fair?
No, I just feel that it is in the right direction. The NDC is saying that we are watching you. Judicial Council, we have other prominent people in this country who have made contemptuous statements. We have other prominent people in this country who have said things that we felt we wanted to hear your voices. We didn't see any action. We didn't hear you say anything. And so at this point in time, we felt that what the man said, it is his opinion, expression of his views, and he's come out to say it. So if you feel that there is some further inquiries that needed to be done, we are watching you. And so I feel there's absolutely nothing wrong with the NDC coming out saying that if the attempt is to persecute the Osiadio or the traditional ruler, we are also watching you. We're going to do everything humanly and politically possible to resist any such attempts.
Loretta, I mean, so this is where we are. The traditional, I asked this question earlier. Yeah. He just made a simple statement that this whole back and forth and all that, you know, let's just forget about the whole thing.
I like to bring people closer to where they are. Look, with all that my honorable sister has said, it's like NDC creating a stove in a teacup. We've been in this country, and I'll use our own institution as an example. We've been in this country where people made statements that some of us thought were not such a big deal, but were held before the Privileges Committee of Parliament.
But if you make a contemptuous statement against the House, I mean, you have to be called.
Honorable here is saying that until they made a statement, nobody knew Nana had been invited. Nana was invited. Yeah. I don't think he was invited against his will, or he was forced, or maybe they had a armed police or anything. He wasn't arrested. He was invited. As we sit here, Honorable serves on committees. As citizens, do we know what happens at the committee level until they come to plenary? We don't. As we sit here, we see what Citi shows us on the screens. Yeah. What happens at your administration, your marketing department, we don't know. It's none of your business. Yeah. Until it comes out or until something comes out. The repair chief is no meaner person than a high court judge. Works within an institution, is paid by the institution, has signed up to a certain code of conduct. By accepting to be in that institution. The institution has laid down procedures of doing things. He had said something. We had various comments on it, against and for. We disagree with him. But the last thing we'll do is go at his person. It's not as the MPP. We don't insult Revere Chief. We don't run people down. We criticize. We point out. We disagree with the comments he made. But the Judicial Council that he works with thinks that what he said may have some bearing on what is happening with
And
the case.
NDC disagrees.
And they've invited him to a committee. I don't see what are...
But is this something that warrants a committee set up and invite and
I
all
think it
that?
would be very nice if you speak to the Judicial Council. Since as I sit here, I speak for the MPP and by extension the government. And what have we always been saying? Separation of powers. The judiciary is supposed to be autonomous.
Yeah.
They are part of, just like Parliament. Parliament is a master of their own rules.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes let's be careful how we throw biases into some of these state institutions and the way they do their work. And let's build our institutions.
Exactly. Now, Honorable, quickly before we go on a break, you are a parliamentarian. I mean, if you think that if Parliament, thinks that this whole dual citizenship and all this ambiguity surrounding it has outlived its usefulness, why don't you guys do something, so we have a clear understanding where we stand that, well, it doesn't matter if you are a dual citizen, or we still stand by our laws that once you have dual citizenship, you cannot be with us. I mean, because I'm sure you've heard all the debates that have come out of this.
Oh, my dear, the laws of Ghana are very clear about it when it comes to when one have dual citizenship. The possibility of the person not being in the position to run for a public office. It's very clear.
Yeah.
In the case of Gyakye Quayson, we all agree that at the time of the election, he has denounced his other citizenship. It's very clear. And so the whole debate is neither
Did he have
here.
a certificate to say that?
But then, of course, it is not up to you and I to ask those questions. Those were the responsibilities of the Electoral Commission. And I think that he had proven, beyond reasonable doubt that, look, these are the issues I have filed, that I have denounced my position or that relationship with the other country. However, I'm still awaiting for the necessary documentation, of which the Electoral Commission said, look, of course, once you have some information indicating that you have decided to kind of end that
but you agree that the courts are the better interpreters of the law, and that is why we were where we were.
Like my dear sister rightly said, that is why we have established various institutions to also run vis-a-vis the court. Otherwise, every single thing we all have to be running to the court. And so the Electoral Commission has their role and responsibilities. And the Electoral Commission, through the good work that they were doing, felt that, look, after going through their documentation and the processes, they felt that, in any case, are we discussing the subject here?
No, we are not discussing the subject, and honestly, and anyway, so if there's something that Parliament can do, just so we all have a better and clearer understanding of this, I think that is about time.